January 2nd is here. You know, we have heard a lot of names well before January 2nd, and you're going to be hearing more and more when January 2nd officially gets here. Portal will open the 2nd through the 15th, I think it is, maybe the 16th. And as always with that portal opening, more people announce where they're leaving before it gets announced where they're going. So still got a bit of that, got to fight off the wolves who are saying the sky is falling and woe is me, what's going on. But I believe, as it's been in the years past, not just for Colorado, for institutions across the land who already have a long list of people leaving, everybody's going to be just fine. There's enough talent and enough market space out there where you can attract and get back what you're losing.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging, though, I think, because of just how quick that window is. You've got the spring semester starting at the University of Colorado on January 8th, and the portal opens January 2nd. So you've got to vet and really get on board a lot of guys. And you don't have to have every guy on campus on January 8th. I think there's a late drop ad to the calendar like the next week. So you've got a little bit of time, but I don't like this window that's been created from getting to know these guys standpoint. And I understand that you don't want teams that are playing meaningful playoff games to be dealing with this nonsense, but it's going to be challenging. But from everything I've heard, Neely, you know better than I do that this is a very motivated staff right now. That is,
I like the way you put that.
Yeah, is the chip on the shoulder, maybe, is the way to put it. Coming back into 2026. So I'm anxious to see what those transfer visits look like, because from what I heard, it's going to sound pretty promising.
Yeah, it is promising. One thing I don't like, Adam, when you talk about the calendar, I'm all for the reduced portal as in eliminating the spring portal, because I think that when you had that spring portal, here you are working you guys out March and April, you had your spring game, and that may not even be your team. So I'm all for that one. But I still think the window on this one needs some adjusting because, frankly, man, it puts organizations across the land in the NCAA governing body, the appearance of tampering is there. Because how do you vet people? How do you get to know people between the 2nd and the 15th? It's already buyer beware because it's a used car market. There's not really a big Carfax on players. Like, you can't just log on somewhere and get all the details. But the way the calendar is set up, it really causes a shift in the power balance to agents, to handlers, to third-party communication, whatever things that are taking place. And I really think that the NCAA could do the institutions a better service by changing the calendar just for communication standpoint and nothing else, where you can minimize the risk for both parties. This is not just me trying to protect institutions and coaches. This is trying to protect players as well.
Well, if you're in a recruiting staff for a college football program this month, you're going, okay, I have a job to do, and I've got to win football games. I got to get the best talent in here. They're not letting me do my job. So how much do I have to push that line? Mm-hmm. That's not fair to people. That should not be something that you're forcing people to do. And I feel like every college recruiting staff in the country has to deal with that right now, of kind of finding that balance between I don't want to get our institution in trouble, but we got to win football games. And it's challenging because the calendar doesn't suggest a perfect time for it. I will admit that. Mm-hmm. But this is not it, what they're doing right this year.
Yeah, it's you're coming up on a downhill slope, and midway down the hill there's a billboard, and here's a state trooper pulled in behind it. It's entrapment, man. Everyone's gonna go by it fast. Yeah. Because everything is working against you to drive slow, but you have no choice. But the car's gonna speed up going downhill as it gets toward the deadline, and then that's where the speed trap is. So I'm with you, Adam. I don't know the answers, but there's got to be a better one not only for this single portal window, but also as coaches transition doing what's bowl games and what are not bowl games. I think that going forward, that window has to be looked at, man.
Yeah, so much has to be changed about college football. We could spend the next 2 hours talking about that. Even the bowl games. Like, I've watched less bowl games this year because you don't really feel that passion that the Pop-Tarts Bowl was pretty awesome. You could tell those guys wanted to get in there. But generally, these bowl games have kind of lost their luster now with the expanded playoff. And so there's a lot of stuff that has to get fixed.
So one, Pop-Tart Bowl. The theatrics make it for me.
Yes.
It's just it's borderline comical, that we have resorted to Neely's type of sense of humor to promote a bowl game. But I love it. I'm here for it. Do you think it's just too many of them? Like, what's the problem, Adam?
Well, I think that because you've got guys that are opting into the portal, and because you've got now this expanded playoff to where you feel like if you're not in that playoff, it doesn't matter as much. Those two things combined, you don't have full rosters. You've always kind of had a motivation question with some of these bowl games. Like if USC goes 6-6 and gets into a bowl game, you're looking at that if you're into sports betting of like, what is going to be their motivation for that game? And even back, 15 years ago, it would have been a question. Now it just seems to be kind of accelerated because you don't have the same rosters that you did before. Like Nakai Hill-Green, if he plays in that Alamo Bowl, does that game look any different? I don't know if Colorado wins over BYU, but there was a deficiency that was pretty evident in that linebacker room during that evening out in there in San Antonio. So that's part of it with guys hitting the portal. And if you're going to keep expanding the playoff at some point, it would be sad to say, but I don't know how these bowls can keep generating the television revenue because you see the ratings are down already.
Yeah, they are. And when you look in the stands, attendance is down on a lot of them as well, except for the ones with the theatrics. So, hey, promote your bowl with theatrics. There's nothing like dropping 2 live Pop-Tarts into a 20-yard toaster and then the players getting to eat the Pop-Tarts. It works.
My wife had the Instagram live going up from the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and those mascots, they were following them through the entire game. They're running through the stadium. It was shenanigans for like 3.5 hours. It was pretty amazing.
That's the word, shenanigans. I'm all for shenanigans. Adam, you mentioned something, and you're like my historic buff guy. I'm new here. You got a new AD coming, something that you haven't experienced in a while. Rick George is, serves time there. You mentioned USC 6-6, blah, blah, blah. We also now know that USC and Notre Dame have called it quits. They're divorcing. If Adam could tell the new AD about a sacred cow that we just got to keep on the schedule, what and who is it?
Get Nebraska on there. Not every year, but Nebraska, maybe a home and home every 4 years. So you play them maybe twice in a 4-year span. It brings something out of people. And I know the Nebraska fans are a little bit more hesitant to buy into that as Colorado fans, but I feel like when Colorado went on a 3-game winning streak against them before their last trip out to Lincoln, that there was starting to be some of that animosity coming back the other way. And when you were out there at Memorial Stadium, that was pretty intense. Those fans were into that football game.
Yes.
So that would be my one. Yeah. Got to get Nebraska on the schedule.
I haven't been here long, but I can't argue with that one, man. The intensity in both environments is up. That week is up. I like that one. And, I haven't met the new AD yet, but I'm sure he's going to be a big fan of the morning run like Rick George is. So we're going to make sure he sees and hears from Adam on this.
Okay. I love it. Yeah. I mean, there's just something about that Nebraska red that it brings out something in Colorado fans. It really does. And to my knowledge, they don't have a game on the schedule with them in the future. So got to get that done.
Yeah, I've glanced ahead at some of the contractual stuff that doesn't have dates on it, but it's just, it's going to be there, going to be here, and you don't see it in the near future. That doesn't mean it's not room for it, though, because Now you got a week 0 in, and so things can shuffle around. And again, as I said, some of the things that you have noted as we're going to be playing this person. For instance, coming up in the future, there's a home and home with Florida with the Gators, but there's no dates attached to it yet. So you got some room, and I think that's going to bode well for the university as well. Some stuff that's already on the books, not just as you said, adding Nebraska on a semi-regular basis, but getting to the South and playing some of those historic blue bloods and having them come to your place as well is going to help the university grow.
Selfishly, I want to go out to the West Coast again. I kind of miss being able to spend some time on the beach when the Buffaloes would play out in Los Angeles, or even up to the Bay Area, get some good seafood, or
that's a good one.
Kind of keeping the ties with the Pac-12 would be good too, I think, for Colorado, because they're one of the big reasons that Colorado moved from the Big 12 initially to the Pac-12 was that at the time, and I don't know what the figure is right now, Neely, but there were 5 times as many CU alumni living in the Pac-12 footprint as there was the Big 12 footprint. So there's a lot of alumni out west.
That's something to consider there, Adam.
Yeah. And they're going out to Chicago. That's going to be fun this coming year, because there's a lot of CU alumni up there in Illinois. So kind of finding where the alumni base, I think, is going to be good for the program going forward as well.
Yeah, you talk about in the first 3 weeks, a trip to Chicago and a trip to Atlanta.
Yep.
So and those are 2 big markets. You can imagine the fan base. I mean, with ATL, the homecoming for Juju and the homecoming for Prime, Chicago, and this is big market. So it's gonna be a great start, man.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for coming out. The Morning Run Live. Peace in the Middle East. Chocolate in the sky. Black is high. Rebel flags. That's right.
Business, baby.